bags to official human rights reports, they are fake. The question is, how fake are they? And that's not clear. Since January, Chinese media have been under tighter than usual government controls, and that's saying something. Journalists have been arrested. Social media platforms have been scrubbed. We don't have a lot of reliable information about what is happening there. The totalitarian governments are far more efficient at controlling populations than unruly democracies like ours. Once quarantine began in Wuhan, for example, there were reports of police letting entire families in their apartments from the outside, only to be discovered dead, all of them, weeks later. Tactics like that will definitely slow the spread of an epidemic. But by how much? The question. So use common sense. Roughly 5 million people fled the city of Wuhan in January. China allowed them, all of them, to travel the world, where they turned an outbreak into a global pandemic. A story in Chinese state media last Thursday, for example, claimed there was only one new case of coronavirus in the capital city, Beijing. The infected patient, the press release said, came from the United States, not from China. Overall, the report claimed only 16 people in Beijing had been infected domestically. Of those, 394 had already been released from medical care. In other words, in a city of 22 million people, there are only 22 hospital patients in Beijing who contracted the coronavirus in China, the country where it started. So literally 1 out of people. Western media outlets believed it. They repeated that claim as fact. The Chinese government clearly knew better than that. The very next day, China closed every movie theater in the country. This Monday, 2 days ago, authorities in Shanghai shut down the city's two most popular tourist attractions, the Shanghai Tower and the Oriental Pearl Tower, for an indefinite period. That is not the behavior of a government that believes it has tamed the outbreak. No, it's an expression of fear. The rest of us should be afraid, too. China is the largest country in the world. When the Chinese distort critical data sets, like how many people are infected or how many are dying, that directly affects how every other country in the world responds to the disease. We may have wasted months assuming things about the coronavirus that were not true. There's a big cost to that. But more broadly, we should be worried about what comes after this. The Chinese government sees this moment as a battle in the struggle for control of the world. They're not distracted by impeachment or debates over pronouns. They think in sweeping terms. That's their advantage. It could be our undoing. This is a propaganda war with historic long-term consequences, and so far, we are losing badly. Senator Josh Hawley represents Missouri. He joins us tonight. Senator, thanks so much for coming on. Why do you think that health authorities in the West, and of course our mindless media, uncritically accept Chinese health statistics and use them as a basis for decision-making here?
Well, you know, Tucker, these same people, I mean, the Washington elites, the Wall Street types, and the media establishment have all pushed closer ties with China for decades. They're the same people who've been telling us that this will be great for America and the world if we integrate our economy with China's. It'll be great if we have a global economy where we send jobs overseas. It won't really matter. As it turns out, they were wrong about all of that. They've been wrong about this whole bargain. It's been terrible for America, and now we're living with the results. So I think we're finally waking up to, or at least the D.C. elite are finally waking up to, the wages of the bargain that they've struck. And it's time that we fundamentally rethink our relationship with China and the world. It's time to start putting American workers at the front and not kowtowing any longer to the Chinese government.
We see this epidemic primarily in epidemiological terms. Our screens are crowded with people in lab coats reading stats and giving, in some cases, good advice. I'm not attacking them. I'm not sure China sees it that way. How do you think China sees this moment? What are the stakes in their view?
Well, they clearly see it as a geostrategic opportunity, the same way they see everything. I mean, listen, they have a plan. They want to be the central power. They want to be the dominant world power. They have a saying that there can only be one sun in the sky. That's the saying of Chinese government officials. And they intend that sun to be China, to be Beijing. And they see this as an opportunity along the way. But here's the thing, Tucker. This is also an opportunity for us. It is an opportunity for us to open our eyes. The American people have known this for decades. They've known that partnering with China is dangerous. They've known that sending our supply chains overseas was wrong. Now we have the opportunity to correct those mistakes. It's time that we go all in on America rather than all in on China, and we're going to have the chance to do that now.
I hope so. I mean, we can start by ceasing the subsidizing of the education for the children of Chinese elites. I know this is off topic, but I can't resist. Our colleges and universities, almost every one of which is supported by taxpayers in the end, educate at a net loss the children of the people who are trying to displace us. Why are we doing that?
Yeah, and we also allow those educational institutions to take money directly almost from the Chinese government. These Confucius Institutes, as they're sometimes called, Tucker, that are on campuses all across the country, directly subsidized by Beijing. You might ask, why do American campuses allow these Chinese government outposts on their own campuses? And the reason is they get paid to. I mean, it's actually lucrative. So yes, we have got to stop this cozy dealing with Beijing on our campuses, with our international trade from our financial institutions and our multinational corporations. It's time to actually put the American worker and American families and American interests first. It's time to put them at the front. And that's why I say we're going to have an opportunity now, and we need to not miss it, to invest in this country, to go all in on this country. And I hope that that will be our focus. This pandemic should make clear to us that it is an urgent need that we do this going forward.
I think you're exactly right. Thank you for your clarity. And I marvel that there are people working against those goals, which are so clearly positive and overdue. Senator, great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, for tens of millions of Americans, rent is due today. It's April 1st. How many won't be able to pay? And what should the country do